Welcome to Wisconsin in Focus. I'm JD Davidson. In 2022, a former election manager in Milwaukee sent 3 fake military ballots to a state lawmaker. This week, that election manager's on trial for official misconduct. She claims she was a whistleblower, but the representative who received the ballots isn't buying it. Joining us today is Ben Yao, Wisconsin contributor for the Center Square. Ben, who was involved in this scandal and what does it all mean right now?
The name that you need to remember is Kimberly Zapata. She was a top assistant in the Milwaukee Election Commission. She essentially was a supervisor who was among the top 2-3 employees there. And to hear Zapata's lawyers make the argument, she was frustrated with the aftermath of the 2020 election. And, you know, we could go back and open that can of worms, Zuckerbucks, democracy in the park, ballot drop boxes. But there was, not just here in Wisconsin, an overall sense from some Trump supporters that somehow this election was stolen. And what grew from the legitimate question here in Wisconsin of, okay, what happened? Because you had a half dozen or more once-in-a-lifetime coincidences. More people voted absentee than ever before. More people voted indefinitely confined, which means you don't have to show a voter ID, than ever before. You had huge swings and turnouts in Democratic areas, and you had some rulings from the Wisconsin Elections Commission, all of which benefited Joe Biden. Those were legitimate questions that were asked and never really answered. But that, over the course of a year or two, morphed into the, oh, did you hear that the voting machines in Arizona were hacked and that if you pushed the Donald Trump button, it really recorded your vote for something? And so you lost the momentum for a legitimate investigation off into conspiracy theories. And Zapata's attorneys say, look, she was sitting there ground zero in Milwaukee watching the real electoral process. And she was frustrated that this representative, State Rep Janel Brandtjen, who we've written dozens upon dozens upon dozens of election stories with, Zapata was frustrated that in her eyes, Brandtjen was missing the real threat to voter integrity. So according to the attorneys in the opening statement, Zapata decided to mail 3 fake military ballots to Brandtjen's home to show her, hey, look, this is really what you should be looking at. If you're really concerned, take a look at this. But as has been pointed out time after time after time after time, including by Milwaukee's elections boss, committing voter fraud to prove that voter fraud is possible is still committing voter fraud. You don't get to walk into the McDonald's with a pistol. Give me a Big Mac and all the money, and then walk out. And when the cops are, they go, "Oh, well, no, I was just doing this to show you guys how easy it was to rob a McDonald's. I mean, here you go." No, that doesn't work.
You know, not to ask you to get inside of this election employee's brain, but okay, so you sent 3 military ballots to a representative. Wouldn't you include a letter or a follow-up and say, listen, I'm doing this to show you this?
This is what Janel Brandtjen told us, that, look, if there had not been, if Kim Zapata had used a VPN with any email communications that she had with this, no one would have known that this did not come with an official report to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, or even to the Milwaukee Election Commission, or to the legislature's Committee on Campaigns and Elections. This was just sent to Representative Janel Brandtjen out of the blue. She opens up her mailbox one day and she's like, why are these ballots that are clearly not mine here? And as Brandtjen has said, look, had she not gone to the cops, had she not instigated this investigation, then they could have come and turned and put the blame on her, and there would have been no way to disprove it. The question that lingers over this trial is, okay, if you are a whistleblower, why didn't you officially blow the whistle? Why didn't you come and do something that says, hey, here's how it would work, and to prove it, I'm going to send you this absentee ballot to show that you don't need an address, you don't need an ID, that you really could just claim to be a soldier or a sailor or an airman or Marine stationed overseas, and they will send you a ballot. And that's the unanswered question. That's been the unanswered question since this happened back in 2002. That's the unanswered question going forward. And the other unanswered question is, okay, so did we close this loophole as we're walking up upon another contentious rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the fall? I mean, is this still possible? And if not in Milwaukee, is this possible in Waupun or out in La Crosse, where maybe they're not paying attention to this kind of election issue?
You know, the other part of that is, why send it to this one rep in particular? Granted that she's been vocal about elections, but still, why not a dozen?
Why not the rest of the members of that committee? Yeah. Why not the assembly leader or the Senate leader? Why not send it to an attorney? Why not send it to the newspaper? Why not send it to us here at the Center Square? I mean, I think our emails are online. And that's where Janel Brandtjen says, look, I have no idea why she was doing this. Was she trying to prove a point? Maybe, but there's always been this specter of Janel Brandtjen was one of the ones who went from, all right, what happened with Zuckerbucks, to maybe those voting machines were hacked. I mean, Mike Lindell said that on Fox News one day. And so there is that just sort of nagging question of, was this to be a whistleblower? Was this to somehow maybe get Janel Brandtjen off the track or on the right track or in trouble? And again, we're probably not going to get those answers. The attorneys for Kim Zapata have indicated they're not going to call any witnesses at her trial. They're just going to go with the blanket statement of, she was a whistleblower and she did what she did, but she did it for good reason. But again, back to our McDonald's armed robbery situation, it doesn't matter if you break the law for a good reason when you so clearly have broken the law.
Do we have any sense of what kind of penalties Zapata could face if she's found guilty?
She's looking at one felony count of disorderly conduct, a couple of misdemeanor counts. I don't think that the prison time is so much the concern. She's been a municipal employee for years. And, anybody who works in government knows, if you get a conviction for an on-the-job crime, that then throws your pension, that then throws your benefits, that then throws all of that kind of stuff into the meat grinder. And the bigger punishment is not whether she's going to go to jail or prison. It's what happens with all of the time that she's earned, what happens with her retirement benefits, because, public corruption means that you don't get to retire well on the public nickel.
Well, hopefully this will be a good lesson for future whistleblowers. Ben, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
Are you tired of news that puts politics over people? At the nonprofit Franklin News Foundation, we believe in putting people over politics by delivering nonpartisan news and audio content that serves you, the American taxpayer. With Franklin News Foundation, you can read fact-based, state-focused news for free at thecentersquare.com. You can listen to civil, balanced conversations between policy experts through our podcast network at americastalking.com. Or you can get in-depth news on K-12 education spending, curriculum, and school safety at chalkboardnews.com. It's all free through Franklin, where we put you, the American taxpayer, first in every story, episode, and conversation. And it's only possible through our supporters. Together, we can produce content that puts people over politics and brings Americans the news they deserve. Become a supporter today at franklinnews.org/donate. Once again, that's franklinnews.org/donate.